So I I tore down a bunch of my ceiling, and I'm pretty sure I broke one of the boards getting the first one out because I didn't want to take down my entire cabinetry to get over to that side. I wanted to look on each side and then in the center and then around the whole roof fan area. That was the known leaky area before. And then there were some holes along the rain gutters, and there's nowhere that the moisture can be getting in noticeably. It's dry everywhere I've seen. So now I'm putting the ceiling back in and clearing up my tarp space to get my toilet and my bottles of water, my case of water, my propane tank for my buddy heater, basically everything else out of the way, just so I can see and have eyes on that there's no noticeable wet areas. And then I'll have successfully checked everything except for the flooring of my living area, which I don't think that's necessary. I've walked on it with wet feet in the past. I know I got it during spring, and our rainy and wet season in the Northwest just went through May into June, so I had plenty of time getting in there with wet, but it dried out. And I suppose it's something to check for like a next time thing, because where I'm at right now is it's been suggested to me that all this is in my head, and it's crazy to think, that's I'd like to think I'm that powerful to create that in my mind, but not out of fear and anxiety. That's crazy, because I know what I smelled. I smelled a musty smell every time I got in the van. Nose plugged up, sharpness feeling like in the throat, like a little not difficulty breathing, but just like a little pain back here. And in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm breathing in spores, because I smelled that mustiness. And just during the wet is what it made it really smell. And I just don't understand now all of a sudden, because I ozoned. I did the ozone for 3 hours yesterday. And my buddy Matt was like, oh, half an hour. Because I forgot that I can ruin rubber seals with that thing. But I let it rip for the full 3 hour setting, and I can still smell it today. So now I know I'm breathing in that stuff too, but it zapped away any other smell, guaranteed. All I can smell is the lingering scent of that ozone machine, and when that completely airs out, I'll have a clean baseline again. And if mustiness returns right away, then I'm gonna need there's just no way. I don't see that there's dampness under the floor. It's not logical to me. This is not, but I don't know how condensation works in the old vinyl. The old upholstery is still in there, and like the old flooring. And so I guess I'm containing it to the floor right now, because I checked all the window areas, and there's just no room for moisture getting in, and I checked, and it's dry, and it does not smell like there's no visible anything, wetness, mold, and so I'm confused. I'm just really confused at the idea that my anxiety can play that big of a trick on me to kick me out of my damn van and put me in freak out mode, make a post the way I did, crying out for help. And I mean, I know, I guess that's something I just realized talking with the counselor yesterday, trying to get set up with therapy sessions again on the phone, someone back in Washington. And I pointed out the fact of how triggered I am lately, just how every little thing is just too much, and I'm crying out for help and reaching and grasping for the nearest life 444, the nearest life boat near me, and that's a cycle I'm trying to break. And I know it's a PTSD trigger thing of mine, feeling alone and feeling like I just gotta blah 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 blah, ask everyone around me for help. So that shows me right there that my PTSD levels have been increased again. Just everything is a little more lately, so the anxiety, it shouldn't be a surprise that it's a possibility that it's playing that big of a trick on my mind. I would really like to think that. And also at times like this, it's never bad to buy an ozone machine. It's never bad to have a dehumidifier. So maybe it's one of those things that the universe was like, hit the brakes, buddy. We're going to make you smell this and make you think you're having these sensations so that you take a break. You know, that's actually funny that it's probably about this time of year, give or take. I know wintertime for sure, but probably after the holidays. A couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I was getting ready to take a break from using cannabis, smoking weed. And everywhere I went, the stuff was just bad. It tasted horrible. It tasted dry and just disgusting, making me cough more than normal, and just wasn't giving headaches and wasn't giving me the effect that I normally desired. Like, cause I love the taste, I love the smell, I got a joint right here. I'm about to smoke it before I go back in and try to have a little fresh mindset to go back to the next step of this. But it was during that time, like, and I ended up buying from a buddy's friend, a friend of a friend, because he's like, he had some weed, and I was like, oh, where'd you get this? Because it tasted just so good, and it got so stoned. And I just been striking out at the normal places that I went, the normal types that I got that were some of my favorites, and it was just like everything was tasting horrible. And then when I couldn't figure out what the taste and smell and was, and the headaches. And when his did that to me, I even texted the guy, because I got in touch with him, his phone number and all that, so I could meet up with him on my own. And I was like, man, I said, I just don't know, man. I said, are you guys cool with your weed? Do you get headaches? Does it taste? I was not trying to be offensive, and totally in hindsight, I could see that it might have been, but because I went out of my way to ask my buddy, hey, can you ask your friend if I can get weed from him? But and then when he was like, oh, what you're seeing is like a keef, it's mildewy keef, mildewy dust. He said it's from the grow. He's like, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. He's like, we always get keef. It's like the little powdery kind of look over it, but he said sometimes it's a little mildewy dust in it, depending on how much moisture got in there and if part of the process, I guess. And it's something that happens sometimes, but not all the time. But it was like everywhere I went, I was like, well, maybe that's what's going on. But I'm associating that with mildewy dust or mold. And it forced me to stop smoking weed. So I don't want to equate that to like this is going to force me out of the van. That would suck. But just to see that was something so strong in my mind that in hindsight it was my mind doing that to get my attention. And we'll say that that's what this is my mind was doing that to get my attention, not necessarily to kick me out of the van. But it had me facing the fear. I got part of my roof tore out. Now I know I could get most of the rest out. If I want to get my cabinetry out, I could get all of it out. Putting it back in, with the system that I got here, I just lay the tarp out and literally put them in order the way that it was on the ceiling and down so I could remember. And I'm sure I could do a bigger task than this, so it's showing me things. If I got to get that flooring up, I'm sure it could show me I could put that one down, or if I got to go get a new one, how to get it cleaned up and stick down a new one. I'm glad I'm able to laugh right now because it's such a stressful situation and forcing me to ask help for, I didn't have to cry out for help the way I did on Facebook and stuff, but I did need somewhere to do this. I needed to hook up my ozone machine. The dehumidifier is coming in tomorrow, and I'll need to hook that up to land power. But somewhere that I could safely offload all my stuff to have the room to do what I needed. And so it was like, in my mind, if I had to do it on my own, I could have done it all at a campsite. I bought a tent, and that's good enough to put all my stuff in and sleep in there. It'd be tight, but I could do all that in one tent. As long as I could put the tent up myself. That's the other thing. I haven't tried that yet. But, yeah, anyways. I don't know if that's what this is just the universe showing me things or not. or if it's showing me that I'm crazy, that I'm able to fabricate a whole entire scenario in my mind, that I have toxic mold spores that I'm breathing in every day, every night in the van, and spores that don't exist. You know, I've done things in the past. Damn. Okay, well, this is something to consider then, because, you know, one of the reasons that I needed roommates, so leading up to the van life, it was like, the way I tell people is like, living alone was progressively getting worse and not working for me. I tried roommates, and that substituted other issues. They were no problem. They were great people, a great friend and her son, great friends with them. But me around anyone for that long of a period of time just causes problems for me, because I need to vent, I need to breathe, and I'll get whacked out. I'll need to just sometimes in my own space, and it's hard. It's just hard to do certain things, and so having someone in my home, it took away certain problems. And so here's some of the problems that I was having, almost always at night, and primarily in the wintertime, the shorter days. I thought people were in my home at night. I double check, triple check, quadruple check my locks, and I knew that there is no possible way, only one way in and out. I was on the 3rd story, one door that I would have heard, but it was like just sort of hearing the voices. It's almost like when you know that someone's in the next room over, 2, maybe 3 people, hushed voices, and they're just like, it's a loud silence. Like, say they're trying to do something, like 2 or 3 people come into an area where they know someone's sleeping, and they're trying to move things out, but they're like, shh, we gotta be quiet. And so there's a bunch of activity, a lot of stuff going on. I call that the loud, but they were all being quiet. So a loud silence is what I would feel, but a presence in my home. It would freak me out. I'd be all scared, opening my bedroom door, cracking it first. Hello? I'd holler out there, hello? Catching myself in these moments sometimes, like, you loony dude. Come on, you nutcase. There ain't no one in your home. And I'd get courage, and I'd open the door further and still kind of peek around the corner. And then go check the lock, and it was still both my deadbolt and the doorknob were still locked, of course. And this didn't just happen one time. This was something that was, among other things, my hyper attentive awareness, hyperactive something, would come out at night a lot, and especially if there was issues. When I had a kind of confrontation with a neighbor a time or two, and I'm peaceful. I was never threatening, and they didn't. But in my mind, there was a confrontation. I got to be extra on guard. And then this person's daughter was over, someone who necessarily wasn't over a lot, and she vented to me about her daughter, about drug addiction and stuff, and I was able to relate a lot. And unfortunately, there's just thieving, a lot of that goes on to that heroin addiction and stuff like that. But I was scared that, like, she brought her daughter to, like, sick her on me, you know, like, to come do crimes or you know what I mean? And I couldn't sleep a whole night. The next day, I was up. I tried to nap, I couldn't, and then partial the next night. I was so tired of 2 or 3 a.m., I crashed. And I didn't get a lot of sleep, but it was enough to give me a charge. And then wake up the next day just realizing I was feeling a lot better mentally and able to see clearly because it was so fresh. I was just like, what was that? Why do I do this? So I'm considering the fact that there's no sudden mold. There's no mold that was silently creeping in the darkness, waiting for the correct humidity and temperature to bam, for me to smell it one day and have so many spores in my throat. I couldn't, because wouldn't this have been leading up? Wouldn't I have like a cough in the throat and stuff in the eyes and all these symptoms? There's a lot of symptoms. Itchiness of skin, dryness of skin. I got them on my knees only, and there'd be no contact there at all because I'm always under covers and stuff in the bed. Like, that's probably from just dryness of the winter air. I know I'm not dumb. So, considering that I am smart and that I use my logics and my intuition both pretty evenly, I'd say, And I have a pretty introspective awareness of like how I'm usually feeling mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I gotta trust that everything's okay, and that, you know, it doesn't make me a loony nutcase that I might have smelled something that was, you know. And here's another thing. There's so many weird things that it just, as I drove by one day, got Kellogg to Coeur d'Alene on my way back to take Lily home and back home to Spokane after a weekend in Kellogg. We used to do that a lot. And there was this guy that was all over the road. I laid off, I braked, and I was like, oh, I'm hanging back. Because he was over this line, over that line, and then into the passing lane, and almost over the other line. Literally all over the place. And then he was so far over, and I was like, he was speeding up, slowing down, and doing this crap, and like an old pickup with this little canopy thing, and I was like, I just want to get around him and speed up and just put him in my mirror, you know. And as I tried, I was fine. He was still swerving a little bit, but he got way over to the other side, thankfully. And as I passed him, I had the distinct smell of alcohol. And you know, if you know the smell of alcohol, like drinking alcohol, like beer, liquor, that kind of thing, you would know that there's a different scents. So if you crack open a bottle or a can and, you know, smell that beer, or a bottle of wine or liquor, you know, you know what that smell is. And now if you were to spill that and it was all over the floor, that has a distinctly different smell. And then if someone was to take 3, 4, 5, 6 shots and come up in your face and breathe and talk and spit, you know, that has a distinctly different smell. Now what I'm getting to is this was the smell of liquor on someone's breath. Undeniably. And I know I'm empathic. I know I'm highly sensitive. But in that moment, my intuition was like, you smelled that guy's breath. He's drunk. You know, and I didn't know for sure. I didn't call the cops. Hey, my intuition said that this guy swerving is drunk. No. I just prayed for him and prayed for everyone on the road for safety and the highest and the best good for everyone involved. And, yeah. Anyways, so this is just showing me in this moment how strong my mind really is. And I should already know that if I'm starting to believe that all of this whole life is a dream that our mind is making up at a very deep subconscious level. And I do believe that. And so yeah, anyways, I'm gonna smoke this and I'm gonna think and I'm just gonna meditate and like ask for continued clarity on the situation and help and assistance from the unseen realms, and to assist me knowing that I got this on my own, and might not be cleaning up any mold today, but yeah, can only go moment by moment at this time. So that's something that this whole quest has been showing me too in different segments, and this is a big one right now. My birthday's next week. Wanted to go snowboarding at Angel Fire the next day, and had a hot springs and massage scheduled. I was going to treat myself on the day of my birthday, and it's literally it's just not knowing anything and somewhere where I'm at, but I'm not. The fact is I don't know them well, so I don't know how to read them, and if they're like really just saying it's okay that I'm not here, they're annoyed and they just feel like obligated because, you know, my little sister or whatever, I don't know. I hope that's not the case at all, but I just yeah, anyways, I'd like to be back on the road again and just doing my thing. This has been a nice little break down here in Arizona. It wasn't necessarily a relaxing vacation, but for all the stressors to come up and me to deal with these situations as it is, mentally or whatever it is, it's probably the best place for my mood too. The sun vibes coming in, and it's dry. And here I am wanting to go back into the wet and the cold, but snow, not rain, you know. But yeah, So we'll just see what the next couple days has in store. But I'm going to go for right now, and unless there's any breaking news, I might add another segment on for this, but I think I'm just going to put things away and let the ozone scent fade and wait to see if any mustiness returns. Dehumidifier's coming today, so I'm going to run that anyways for 24 hours probably. Yeah. Anyways, before I sink into a weird headspace and think too much, I love you all, and infinite blessings for each and every one of you. Bye.